Hi, everyone. Welcome to this podcast for OJAP. My name is Yasemina Curti. I'm the senior editor of OJAP, and I'm an assistant professor at The Ohio State University. Today, it's a great pleasure and honor to host Dr. Volakis. He's the dean and professor at the College of Engineering at FIU, Florida International University. Dr. Volakis, many thanks for accepting our invitation. So today it's going to be a 10 to 15 minute podcast. The idea is to talk with Dr. Volakis about his career path to date, his ongoing research, and his vision about what he wants to see in OJAP. So let me start by asking you, what got you interested in electromagnetics, and what has been your career path to date?
Well, thanks for inviting me, and it's a pleasure to be part of the IEEE Antennas and Propagation podcast. It's been a society that I've been associated with since 1978, I believe. So a very long time. I served as president also in 2004 of the society. So it's a pleasure to contribute, to the students, to the society, and to the technologies that the society represents. A big question and an appropriate question that you've asked, Yasemina, is how did I get started in electromagnetics? And the short answer is there wasn't anything jumping about it. It was a process. It was a very long process. And I think that's true for most of us. So I wanted to say that I started by having a dream to become an electrical engineer. And that dream came because I grew up without electricity. And I kept that dream and had a lot of help from my parents, who decided to send me to the high school from my small village, about 30 kilometers away. And there I was able to get good teaching and motivation from teachers. I was able to also learn that mathematics and sciences were very easy for me, and writing was very difficult. But I kept up with it, and when the opportunity came to come to America when I was 18 years old, I didn't give up on that, and I used those challenges and difficulties to pursue still, my dream, perhaps in a bigger way. The key thing happened when a professor at my undergraduate school, his name was actually Mark Schrodt, and he saw in me certain abilities which I did not know about, and he promoted me to go to Ohio State and pursue my my PhD. And there, I got a fellowship. I got an assistantship, and I met people like my advisors, Leon Peters and Danny Burnside, and who taught me at electroscience, who taught me radars, who taught me communication systems, imaging, underground imaging, and I was just amazed at the ability that I was able to learn these things, and it was just an incredible cookie jar that motivated me to pursue something more. I do want to say that many people with my background will find it very familiar with that. When I told my parents that I wanted to pursue a graduate education and a PhD, the answer was, "What is wrong with you? Why don't you just go to work? Aren't you tired of going to school?" I think many of us will experience something like that, particularly if you come from a farming background, as I did myself. In any case, I pushed through, and the rest is history. I do want to say that along the way, I enjoyed everything that I did, and I tried to pursue perfection. I tried to pursue quality. I wouldn't say perfection, but quality. And that's something that I've learned from my early years. I wanted to do things very well. I did that when I was a farmer, and and it was easy for me, and time and hours were not important. So when it came to being able to learn English very well, I did it. I pursue long hours and techniques to be able to acquire the pronunciation, to acquire the writing skills also as well, which I knew that it was important. So a couple of things, points for young, students to know is that time and dedication is essential, and you have to think of everything as a career and not as a job. And kind of my approach was also verified by an IEEE medal winner who was asked, what did you do and what is the most important thing rather that you would say to your people and to the students and future career people that made you successful? And his succinct answer was, well, every job that I took, I did it as if it was the last job that will ever be given to me. So I follow that, and I think that has worked for me. Along the way, I challenged my students. I had expectations, and I was very fortunate to get people who delivered things in amazing ways. Also, I wanted to say that when I looked at problems, I looked at problems that were needing to be solved. I remember the finite element method that our group is known for introducing, and it wasn't that it was not known. 20 years before we started working on it, I started working on it at the end of the 80s, but it had issues that did not make it successful. So being able to find the Achilles heel in the techniques and being able to solve those problems, for example, the edge elements, the accuracy, the truncation boundary conditions, being able to solve the right problem that was needed at that particular time was very critical. Same thing with, let's say, ultra wideband antennas that we're doing today, being able to find the Achilles heel and develop something that people need and want was very critical. So in that particular case, it was making them small and ultra wideband, and that was something that we were able to accomplish. And today, that's a standard antenna across the world. Wearables that Asimina and I have worked on, that's also something that's needed, and that's going to continue to want and to pursue innovations for it as we move forward. Nothing is abrupt, and it's a process, and sometimes it takes decades. So
perfect.
That's my introduction on the question.
That's great. So I know that over the years you have been maintaining a very large group and a very active group. I know you have an amazing talent in sniffing the right research area. So what are some of the hot research areas you are working on these days?
Yes, and that's also another very important question. First, let me start by saying that I want to be a student again. This is an incredible moment in technology and innovation. It's like being in a cookie jar of opportunities. And I wanted to compare to what it was when I started in the early 80s and what it is now, and why I say that we're in a cookie jar of opportunities. When I started as an assistant professor, I wanted to get some research funding. So I went to NSF and tried to push, my ideas. The NSF director that I spoke to told me at that particular time, and I quote, "You've had incredible leaders in electromagnetics, and they pretty much developed everything that was needed. So I don't think there's any hot research areas to pursue." And of course, this individual did not predict the incredible revolution associated with wireless communications and the cell phone that has changed the lives of people. At the same time, that was the time when research was pursued by the government, primarily large projects like the Apollo program, and also the IBM, computer, big computer that took several rooms to put it in there. So the technology was being developed by large corporations and by governments in particular. So you had to be your individual innovations were not as important at the time as it is today. And today we have challenges and technologies such as automation. We're going to see, automated freeways and automated driving very soon. Not that it doesn't exist, but becoming to people. We're going to see virtual reality, remote office, spectrum access in ways that we have not imagined. And what I'm trying to say is that after the beginning of the introduction, after the introduction of the microprocessor, for example, the 8080 and the Intel 8080 and the 6800 Motorola, things changed dramatically. So today what we have is technologies and capabilities that are impacting individual people, not corporation driven, not government driven. So as a result, an individual or a team of people a small team of people can make transformational impact, and that's an incredible capability to have in front of us. That's why I said we're in a cookie jar of opportunities, and it's a wonderful time to be a student again. We can, I want to say that we can pursue we can pursue technologies based on needed applications, or we can do evolutionary technologies development. And I would say target the applications. Find what is going to be the next big thing. And yes, spectrum access, virtual office, big data, ultra wideband technologies, being able to have sensors that interact with all aspects of our body, and therefore enable wearable electronics. UAVs and small vehicles that will be everywhere, CubeSats that will be able to give you data on demand, and they will be giving you data using a cell phone that is in your earbud. So it's an earbud cell phone, I can predict. So work on miniaturization, work on ultra wideband systems, and also not focus on a single item of isolated technologies. You may, but in the end, your vision should be to see the entire system. So we are working on systems. We're working on sensor systems. We're working on STAR systems, that is simultaneous transmit receive, which is the so-called full duplex. We're working on technologies that will impact augmented reality. And automation and cybersecurity. So secure communications will be a thing that we will need to definitely have in our finger tip. And I would say I can't wait the day when a farmer will have an earbud phone and say, look, I need to improve my I don't have water here, or I measured and we need some more water, or we need some more fertilizer, and boom, they will be delivered, to the farmer. Or being able to help people in the cities who may be in need, or being able to help people very quickly by satellite imaging and calling for help very quickly when you need some water, when you need some food, when you have a disaster, when you have a flood, when a fire, and so on and so forth. Being able to deliver technologies to the simple and everyday human being, and utilizing technology that is seamless to our day-to-day living.
Thank you. So my last question here is about OJAB. So other than the regular submissions that we have, we're organizing special sections. We're also inviting review articles. So on your end, you mentioned a lot of research topics that are hot right now, but which specific ones would you like to see the most featured in OJAB?
Yeah, kind of picking from the applications that I just mentioned, I'll make a list. Ultra-wideband, technologies, whether it's filters, antennas, circuits, and transceivers, certainly is one of the topics to push. I think we will continuously have that. A lot of focus on millimeter waves, on and their and spectrum utilization. How can we be able to have more sensitive systems and low and excellent sensitivity and reception communication systems so that we can utilize the spectrum without interfering with other users at the same time. So I do dream that concurrent spectrum use will be one day a reality. Energy harvesting and energy efficient, being able to also talk about technologies that impact the future Artemis mission, which I call the new Apollo mission to the moon and then eventual to Mars. Wearables, as I mentioned, and particularly medical technologies. Anything that can impact medical technologies. I know that that's a very challenging field. Being able, for example, to help doctors to guide a probe or a catheter and be able to make a surgery remotely with extreme accuracy. We can help them with that. MRI imaging or other imaging techniques that can do that externally. Integrated technologies. I like to see integrated sensor technologies, batteryless technologies, and hopefully we can accept papers that are not just focused on a isolated technology, but one that is more integrated and therefore can be more useful to the community. So I know that integrated papers and overview papers, sometimes they're seen rather as overview papers and they're not as well received by the reviewers, although the readers may like it. So I hope that we can make, Asimina, some overview papers to be a thing of a standard within the OJAB and other IEEE journals, because I think there's a lot of value to that. But at the same time, try to solve the Achilles heel in that system. Don't just say, okay, this is an integrated system, but what is the challenges that we overcame in getting there?
Thank you so much. Thank you for this insightful discussion. Thanks everyone for listening. I know Dr. Voulakis' career is very inspirational for us all, and I'm sure this podcast will inspire the intelligent propagation community as well. Thanks for being with us today.
Well, my pleasure. Awesome.